So, this is the time I got kicked out of a Target. Twice. Now, I'm going to be splitting this video up into two parts, that being story 1 and story 2. So, if you just want to hear the second story, you can. If you just want to hear the first story, you can too. But anyway, no more talking and whatever. Let's get into the first story. So, this first story takes place at a arcade in this big mall. And I was actually there for a birthday party. Now, the party's starting to wind down, everyone's going home, and the birthday boy, who we will name Tony, comes up to me. And he's all like, "Hey, I know the party's winding down, but would you want to go just walk around the mall with me?" And I was like, sure, man. And he was like, alright, cool. Here, let me see if anyone else wants to go. And I was like, alright, that sounds fair. So after a while, we get everyone together, and it's me, Tony, my sister, Tony's sister, who we'll name Gwen, and Danny, me and Tony's other friend. Now, Danny doesn't really have much since he gets picked up almost right after, but he was still kind of there. And so, like I said, we're walking around the mall, and we eventually get to the Target, and I ask everyone, and I'm like, "Hey, would you guys want to go into the Target?" To which they all agree. So now we're walking around the Target, and Gwen happens to find the shopping carts. And Gwen, being much older than us, tends to have some more power over us. And so she looks at me and Tony and goes, "You two, get in the cart, now." And since she's older than us, we do. So Tony gets on the top, and I get on the bottom, since it was one of those carts that has kind of two layers. I'll put up a picture of it right here. So now Gwen is pushing me and Tony around in this cart, while my sister just tags along behind. And so we're kind of just cruising around. So Gwen takes us to the books and CDs. Now I go to look at the CDs and vinyls while Tony goes to look at the books. Now I'm just looking at the CDs when all of a sudden this worker comes up to me, and he basically says like, "Hey, we've gotten a lot of complaints about you guys being very disruptive, and we're gonna have to ask you guys to leave." And it being my first time ever getting kicked out of a store, I am kind of scared. And so I'm just like, okay. And so then I get everyone, and I'm basically like, "Hey, we're getting kicked out." And then everyone kind of has the same reaction of, okay. So now this guy's escorting us out, and I decide to go and ask him, and I just go up to him and I'm like, "Hey, so are we banned or what's going on?" And he says like something along the lines of, "You guys aren't banned, you guys just won't be able to come back for the rest of the day." And I said, "Yeah, that's fair. What about my sister? Because she just tagged along. She literally didn't do anything. She just walked around." And he said, "No, I'm pretty sure we saw her doing stuff too, like running around." And I was just like, okay. But in my head, I knew that he pulled that straight out of his ass crack, bro. But anyway, and so now we get kicked out of the Target, and then we just walk around the mall, and that's pretty much the time when we're like, yeah, maybe it's time to go. And to which we're all like, yeah, probably. And so while I'm waiting for my parents to pick me up, I decided to put a post on my Snapchat story, and I was basically like, "Just got kicked out of a Target," or something like that. And later that night, one of my best friends at the time ended up calling me, and he was just like, "Yo, you got kicked out of a Target? What happened?" And I kind of told him what happened, told him the whole story, and he was like, yo, you're stupid. And I was like, I know. Now, you'd think I'd learned my lesson, but here's how I got kicked out the second time. So this story takes place maybe one or 1.5 years later. I'm with a new group of friends, and I'm able to come back to that Target. Now, these two friends are Eric and Jack. And so we're just walking around talking and stuff, and then we get to the Target, and I'm pretty much just like, huh, you know I got kicked out of there once. And Jack looks at me like I asked him, like, how to hide a body. And this dude goes, you what now? And so I told him the story, and he was like, well, of course you got kicked out, you're being stupid. And I was like, yeah, that's true, I tend to do that. And then we kind of laugh, and then I tell him about how, like, you know, I'm pretty sure I'm not banned anymore. You guys want to go in? And they're like, yeah, let's go in. So we walk into the Target, and Jack goes to look at, like, the action figures. I go to look at, like, something else in the toys, and Eric, like, wanders off to, like, the Funkos or something. And so then we all meet up after we're done looking, and we go to find, like, the CDs and vinyls, since we're all kind of really big into music. And Jack goes to slap Eric's neck, which is something that he likes to do. Yeah, I know, but just bear with me, he's a nice person. So he goes to slap his neck, and Eric obviously dodges this and starts running away from Jack, and Jack starts chasing him, and I chase them because I'm just kind of thinking about, like, oh crap, are we gonna get kicked out again? So I end up catching up to Eric, and I kind of tell him, like, yo, we should probably stop, alright, we might get kicked out. And he was like, oh yeah, you're right. And then Jack meets up with us, and I haven't told him anything yet, and so I have to, like, kind of break them up from, like, I don't know, fighting. And I'm just like, yo, we should probably stop. And I kid you not, right after I say that, this one dude in all black comes up to us, and he says these exact words. Are you having fun? To which we're like, what? Because, like, we're just like, huh? And then this other dude comes up, and he's wearing all black, but he has those, like, security highlighter vests. And he's like, yeah, you guys having fun? And before we can say anything, this dude goes, well, it's time to leave. This ain't no playground. To which we're like, huh? It's like, you can't be messing around in here. This isn't a playground. It's time to go. To which, like, come on, dude. Come on, dude. This ain't no playground. It's time to go. Like, okay. I think I just wet myself. So now, I'm getting kicked out again. And since this is my second time, I'm more used to it. Now, Jack had some, like, figures he wanted to buy. So he asked, like, hey, can I go buy these real quick? To which the security guard says, yeah, but you need to leave right after. And so he's like, okay, and he goes to the checkout line. And I give Eric this look of, I told you so. And Eric gives me this look of, oh my god, am I gonna get in trouble? Because, like, we're good kids, or something like that. So then we get out, and I kind of tell Eric, and I'm like, you know, does it make sense now? And he was like, yeah. So then Jack gets out the store, and he's basically like, dude, I see why you got kicked out now. Those guys suck. And I was like, yeah, they do, don't they? And I was like, you know what? Let's go find somewhere to sit. I have an idea. And I was like, okay. And so we find somewhere to sit, and Jack basically looks at me and says, give me your phone. And I'm like, what? He's like, give me your phone. I'm gonna write a review. And I'm like, honestly, that's pretty smart, yeah. So I give him my phone, and he starts writing a review for the Target. And after, like, 2 or 3 minutes, he gives the phone back to me, and I read the review, and I click post. But, yeah, little side tangent, but I actually went there recently with Eric, just Eric, and I don't know if this was paranoia or anything, but when I walked in, that dude saw me, and I saw him see me, and then I saw him, like, pull up his little walkie-talkie, and he, like, started, like, murmuring some stuff, and so then I look at Eric, and I'm like, yo, don't be scared, but I'm, like, 85% sure that dude saw us, and knows who we are, and remembers us. And Eric's kind of like, oh, God. So we make sure to buy our stuff really quickly before leaving. So that was the time of how I got kicked out of a Target. Not just once, but twice. Now, moral of the story is, don't do anything I said in this video. Don't, like, run around a Target. Don't slap your friends on the neck. And don't act tough if you know you're getting paid, like, $2.50 an hour. This ain't no playground, like... Thank you guys so much for watching this video. As you can tell, this isn't scripted, the end card. Again, but really, thank you for watching, especially considering this is my first ever video. It would mean the world to me if you guys liked, subscribed, shared, all that junk, jazz, whatever you want to call it. I think you can hype videos, but I don't think you can. I don't know, it's really confusing. Trying to make this quick, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna be trying to make at least one short a week. Not week, at least one short a month, and if I skip a month, well, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, I have school, considering as recording this, there are 3 weeks left of my school. I think that's it. I'm sure you have a ton more videos that you should probably watch instead of this, of all things. But yeah, again, thank you for watching. If you haven't, I'm not gonna push it on you any further, but you should like and subscribe and all that. But thank you. See ya.